Hey HSM, Sarah here. I am excited to dive into week 2 of The GOAT. Last week we talked about turning the world upside down and serving like the GOAT, Jesus. This week we're going inside out and seeing how we were made to serve in our unique individual ways. Have you ever seen something doing what it's made to do? And it's just beautiful. Like, it's perfect. It looks peaceful, effortless, natural. I always think of fish. Yep, fish. I think of how fish look in water. And just in case you haven't been to the aquarium in a while, check this out. It's beautiful, it's effortless, and it just makes sense. Or think about a professional figure skater. When they're on the ice, it's magic. It looks so natural, like breathing. There's an Olympian named Tara Lipinski, who's a famous figure skater. She was the youngest athlete at 12 years old to win a gold medal in the US Olympic Festival, or just what we call the Olympics, in 1995. She was the first woman to complete a triple loop combination. I have no idea what that is, but it was her signature jump element in a competition. She was the youngest woman at 14 years old to win the World Figure Skating Championship. And she was also the youngest skater to win the World Professional Figure Skating Championships. And lastly, the youngest inductee into the United States Figure Skating Hall of Fame, aka GOAT status. After an incredible career doing something she was clearly made to do, she retired and eventually started commentating for the figure skating competitions instead of competing. The other day, I came across a recent video of her on my Discover page. I was just kind of scrolling on Instagram, right? And it was a simple video of her getting out on the ice for the first time in a long time. Check it out. Her caption underneath that video read, "I always know when it's time to get back on the ice. I get this internal heartache and pull back to the rink." Now in that video, she doesn't do anything super fancy. She doesn't do that triple loop, but it's clear that she was made to do that. It looks peaceful, it looks effortless, and it looks natural. And something always pulls her back to it, and I'm sure it's that feeling you get of doing what you are made to do. Hey, you have something like that. You have something that you do that when you do it, everything just clicks. It feels like a fish in water or a figure skater on ice. It feels natural. And maybe when you sit down to draw, or you listen empathetically to someone, or you build a wooden table, or you play a basketball game. And maybe when you speak in front of a crowd, or plan a party, or crush a math test, or play piano. Did you know that there are actually gifts God gives us that are a part of that? God gives his followers spiritual gifts to impact the outside world. He gives us individual gifts to serve others in our own ways. As we commit to serving people like the GOAT, Jesus, we have to figure out what these are. Romans 12 verses 4-8 talks about these spiritual gifts. It says, "In his grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. So if God has given you the ability to prophecy, speak out with as much faith as God has given to you. If your gift is serving others, serve them well. If you're a teacher, teach well. If your gift is to encourage others, be encouraging. If it is giving, give generously. If God has given you leadership ability, take the responsibility seriously. And if you have a gift for showing kindness to others, do it gladly." So why are they called gifts? Because God literally gifts them to us. We don't earn them. Just like he created us to look a certain way, have a certain personality, he, through his Spirit, gives us these gifts when we start a relationship with Jesus. These gifts partner with his individual purpose and plan he has for each of us. It's like our superpower to do what he has planned for us during our lifetime. In Romans 12:4-8 that we just read, we see 7 different spiritual gifts listed. We see prophecy and serving and teaching and encouraging and giving and leading and being kind, but there are more. Check out this picture. There's a bunch more. Here's the deal. When we know our spiritual gifts and we use them in our world, we experience our true fish and water moment. We have the peace of knowing what we were created to do, and it will feel natural, joyful, and fulfilling. Scripture also reminds us that all of our spiritual gifts are needed. We as the church, as a Christian community, will not be effective in sharing the gospel or serving others or spreading God's love to this world if we do not all do our gifted role. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 14-21 describes this idea by using the metaphor of a body. It says, yes, the body has many different parts, not just one part. If the foot says, I'm not a part of the body because I'm not a hand, that doesn't make it any less part of the body. And if the ear says, I'm not a part of the body because I'm not an eye, would that make it any less a part of the body? If the whole body were an eye, how would you hear? Or if your whole body were an ear, how would you smell anything? But our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where he wants it. How strange a body would be if it had only one part. Yes, there's many parts, but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. So what is this saying? It's saying, guys, just like a body needs all of its parts to operate ideally, so too do we need each other to impact this world for Jesus. Also, all parts have equal value. A word of wisdom to you all. We're not meant to be jealous of each other's gifts, but think more about how we ought to use our own. Hot tip. Hey, you have a gift and you are needed. You may be sitting here thinking, I'm just not that good at anything, really. Or nothing feels really natural to me. You also might be thinking, I've never even heard of this whole thing about spiritual gifts. Well, I can assure you that you do have strengths. And when you know Jesus, he has given you a gift. You simply need to take hold of these gifts. And to do that, you need to discover them, develop them, and devote time to them. So let's start with number one. Number one, discover your shape. Growing up when I was younger, my church used the acronym SHAPE when talking about spiritual gifts and strengths. This is an all-encompassing acronym. The S stands for spiritual gifts, the H stands for heart, A is ability, P is personality, and E is experiences. This acronym sums up who you are. And once you know who you are and what you can offer, you can head to number 2, develop. I like to say, shape your shape. Even though some gifts might feel natural, it doesn't mean we shouldn't be intentional in developing it and growing in it. You need to put yourself around, number 1, people that will help you understand your gifts, and number 2, situations that will give you opportunities to utilize your gifts. Just like we must practice for a play or a big game, we should be practicing our gifts that we've gotten from the Lord. And then number 3, remember the third one? Devote. I like to say, serve your shape. Devote time to serving with your shape in mind. Find the place where you can serve and utilize your shape. And that equals that fish in water moment. The moment that I so desperately want for each of you, the moment that Jesus so desperately wants for all of us, and the role we're meant to play in this world. As we wrap up, let's think about a worship band, right? What if I decided one day that I was just gonna play the drums? I have no natural talent, I have no gifting, and no practice, but I sit down and decide to play it. Well, that's probably not gonna sound great, right? Or let's say, okay, I decide to play the keys, but all I can play is hot cross buns on a good day. Okay, so I'm still not in the right role, right? It only works if we get the people who are gifted in those individual instruments playing their role. If we have the right people at every instrument and they all play their part, it comes together perfectly. We need to know how we can play our part perfect. As we wrap up and head to our small groups, we're going to look inside to see how we can make an impact in our outside world. God gives his followers spiritual gifts to impact the outside world, and together we're going to find out what those are and how you can be using them now.